Race-fueled tensions at the Randfontein High School have once again brought racism in schools into sharp focus. Now, the South African Human Rights Commission and the Department of Education will be working together in developing a code of conduct that will help curb racism. Given the recent incident at Hoërskool Jan Viljoen, how will this code of conduct ensure that we do not see a similar incident in the future? To unpack this, we're joined virtually by Advocate Andre Gam from the South African Human Rights Commission. Advocate, thank you so much. Before we speak about this code of conduct that you're going to be working on, and I'm sure working on already, if we could just focus a little bit on this unfortunate story that again has hit the headlines at Hoërskool Jan Viljoen. Again, bringing into sharp focus these kinds of tensions at so many of our schools. This just one of them that happens to make it into the news, mainly because of social media. Again, us being able to see what's really going on. But I'm sure, and as much as there's any number of these kinds of incidents making the news, there's so many more that we don't even hear about in towns, villages, and areas across South Africa. What do you make of what we've seen unfold at Hoërskool Jan Viljoen?
Yes, unfortunately, I think it shows that racism and racial conflict and a lack of social cohesion is still a reality in our country. Because we should remember what happens in schools is also a reflection of what happens in society in general. And therefore, this is actually a manifestation of broader society. From our side, we would once again want to call on everyone who become aware of incidents of this nature at schools to bring it to the attention of the South African Human Rights Commission so that we can indeed investigate it, as we are doing in this case. Representatives from our Gauteng provincial office visited the school, had a long conversation, an interview with Mr. Meyer, the principal of the school, and we will do a thorough investigation. We've also, in the meantime, received a letter from MEC Lesofie to request that we look further into a number of issues at the school, which we would indeed do. Also, the social media posts in which the deplorable K word has apparently also been used in relation to learners. But yes, it is a manifestation of the fact that we still have a long way to go in our country, and that's also why the Commission has several initiatives underway, including a social cohesion and harmony campaign that is being launched by the Commission under the leadership of our new Deputy Chair, Fatima Chauhan, as well as a hearing that we are planning for the next financial year, which starts in April, on matters concerning social cohesion, nation building, and racism in our schools. And we hope that there would be broad public participation in that.
I must admit, when I saw news that you'll now be working on developing a code of conduct to help curb racism in schools, and furthermore to your statement saying that you're hoping to develop a model on a human rights code of conduct and a course on diversity and sensitivity to be rolled out in schools, my first reaction was, finally. And also, why now? Why only now? Because surely this should have been rolled out a very long time ago. If our schools are a microcosm of what's happening in our society, surely we know at school is where this kind of education is so desperately needed, so that future citizens of the country are able to deal with each other's lived experience in a more harmonious way.
Yes. Well, the Commission has also developed with the Department of Basic Education revised human rights friendly textbooks for the life orientation phase in grade 4 up until grade 12. So that is now formally part of the curriculum. But we have identified that over and above that, we often see that schools are in need of sensitivity and diversity programs to make sure that matters are, that these problematic issues are dealt with in these schools. Now, usually this is employed when there is a problem at a specific school with regard to race relations, etc., other forms of unfair discrimination. What we have decided now that there is a dire need that we develop a Human Rights Commission sanctioned diversity and sensitivity program that could be rolled out across the board in all our schools. So that this is in addition to the curriculum, and the curriculum has been amended to make sure that human rights aspects become part of the curriculum, and for that we are very thankful, and we work very closely with DBE in that regard. But in addition to that, we believe that there is a need for such a program to be rolled out in every school. The code of conduct is another matter. We do find that there are still many schools, also including private schools, that have codes of conduct that are not sensitive enough towards diversity issues, cultural differences, all kinds of differences that we have in our country between people, and that these codes of conduct are not really geared towards the constitutional principle and value of unity in diversity. One often still finds that there are issues with regard to cultural expressions in terms of how people wear their hair, hair issues between boys and girls, all kinds of issues of that nature, school uniform, and so on. So in that sense, we believe there should be a, once again, Human Rights Commission sanctioned, human rights friendly code of conduct that could be then be utilized in all schools, including private schools. I can also announce that in the province of the Eastern Cape, we will have a very specific provincial inquiry pertaining to these matters that usually become contentious in terms of how codes of conduct are formulated.
And just very quickly, all of these programs that you're working with the department in trying to institute, are you looking to bring them into the curriculum at primary school level already? Because one sometimes thinks high school might be a little bit too late for this kind of thing, and that the earlier you start with the kids, the better.
Yes, no, I absolutely agree with that. And that's why, for example, it is a massive step forward that there are now revised textbooks for life orientation for grade 4 up until grade 12 that are human rights orientated. And these textbooks have been developed through an extensive process in which the Human Rights Commission made substantial inputs. So that is the curriculum part of it. But as I'm saying, I think there are two additional issues for immediate intervention. That is, one, that there should be a model human rights friendly code of conduct that schools should make use of, or that they should at least make sure that their codes of conduct are in line with this model code of conduct. And secondly, the need over and above the curriculum for a social cohesion, sensitivity and diversity program that could be rolled out in all our schools in the town.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there, and perhaps a suggestion that some of those programs involve some kind of engagement with the parents as well, because I'm sure they could do with some of that as well. Thank you so much, Advocate Andre Gaun from the South African Human Rights Commission.